video.
There you go.
Intermission is over. As I was saying, when no one was listening, is the energy in the room is exactly what I was hoping for, is that people were really getting to know each other and working together, so it's really exciting. But I'm going to just keep going on with the agenda to keep the energy building. And there's a few things I just wanted to talk about with the program itself, and I'm going to start with new maps. We have the 9 designated bikeways are on PDF maps that are very printable from your home computer. What we're finding is that they're a great start, but they really needed a major revision. And it's making maps. Who has ever tried to make a map, Maura? Right? You've done one? Haven't you for Bicycle Garage Northwest? Okay. Making maps are hard, and it takes it takes a special person to make a map, and they're called a cartographer, a true map maker, and they're expensive. So I applied for a grant with the Recreation Trails Program grant, and I just found out that we are almost there. We're like this close to getting it. We're going to get the final okay in May 8th when the Madras Mountain Views and Tualatin Valley Bikeway are also going to be voted on. So we will be able to take all the designated bikeway maps to a cartographer and have them make it super accurate. And the way I realized that there was really a problem with the map is the day I rode out of Long Creek, where I was talking about Old Glass. There's like, what is it, an 8-mile hill from Long Creek out and up. And it doesn't show on the elevation profile. And I had just eaten a very large breakfast. So it would be nice to know about that hill. So things like that will be tweaked. And the first 2 maps that you will see done in the new way is the Madras Mountain Views and the Tualatin Valley Bikeway. So we'll be looking at that. And the last thing I'll have to say about the maps, though, is when we are redoing each one is when I'll really need a lot of the detail help from each of the bikeway proponents to really look at the map. And the best way to look at the map is to actually give it to somebody who doesn't know the bikeway and tell them to go ride it. So that's the best, because we all know the bikeway so well, we don't even see that 8-mile hill was missing in the elevation profile. So that's number one. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the bikeway plans that all the designated bikeways have worked so hard to write, all the volunteers and staff on that. And the ones that are recommended are working very hard on now. The bikeway plans, well, a bad plan is a plan that people write, spend a lot of energy on, and sits on a shelf. That's not a plan. So I don't really even want to call them a plan. What I was thinking they really are is one giant sticky note of your to-do list, and also a reminder of what's working and what's not, what needs to be tweaked. So to help with that process, I'm going to borrow from the Main Street program, some of you are familiar with, and do a 1-year review, which is, it's going to be 1-page review where you can go back into the bikeway plans, look at the goals that you wrote for yourselves. Are those goals working? What did we do in the past year? And writing it down, keeping a record is really good as you're recruiting new people to work with you. Some of the goals you're going to find, well, that sounded good at the time, but it's not working. So some goals are just going to go away. New goals will come in. And there's also goals about roads and road improvements and checking on things. I guess I'm just most recently read the Madras Mountain Views plan. One of their goals is to keep track of a potential subdivision that would go in, and if it does go in, to advocate for bike lanes right where, am I saying that, right where it goes in. That's the kind of thing that could happen in 6 months, it could happen in 3 years, but it's written in the plan to remind them to do it. So this one-year review is exactly to jog your memory, to take a look at your sticky note. I'll be sending out the draft of the 1-year review form, and I really want your feedback on it because it's for all of us to make this program the best it can be. Another thing on the 1-year review form draft right now is about looking at all the links. How is the link from your local chamber site or destination marketing organization site to Ride Oregon Ride? Is that working? If you look at the maps that Ride Oregon Ride made, on each of the bikeways has their very own is it called a URL? Whatever. So you can direct somebody directly to rideoregonride.com and then Sisters to Smith Rock. So they can go right to your thing if you want it, or you can send them to the main page of Ride Oregon Ride. So to look at that, and then also to look at Ride Oregon Ride. Is that accurate? Is it timely? Does it need freshening up? Does your site need freshening up? What about the state parks website? So it's a time to kind of check in with that. So I'll be really interested to hear what everyone has to say about the draft review when I send it out soon. And that's, as I said, to just really act as a sticky note and not a plan sitting on the shelf. And let's see, I think that's all I'm going to cover now, because now this is the part of the agenda that I'm really kind of most looking forward to, which is hearing from all the different bikeways. But before I move on, is there any questions about what I just covered, the review and new maps? Oh, I know, and I even have it written down right here in my own handwriting, what I was going to talk about. The last thing is one of the things that I hear about out there, that when I'm talking to people about the maps, well, they want it more accurate, they want it tweaked. What's the other thing that everybody keeps asking for, Doug?
GPS.
And we are working on that. The Grand Tour Bikeway has the GPS on the Grand Tour page right now. They're the only ones. It's kind of an experiment. The way it works is you click on it and it takes you to Ride with GPS, where somebody who knows how to work a GPS device and has that device can just download it to their probably Garmin or whatever they have, and then they can put it on their bike and ride the route. There it is, right on their computer. They don't need satellite. It's just in the GPS unit. We're starting with Grand Tour. We're waiting to get feedback. And Doug is working on getting those other routes going. So you'll see more of that and be able to send people to that. You can even have that as a link to your website. That was the last thing I was going to say. Okay, so with that, yeah.
Just kind of very, very quickly then, as we get that kind of up and running and get those out, then I think the proponents here, we're going to be looking to them to take a look at that, to make sure that I didn't screw something up as I was trying to map it out. So I guess kind of prepare for the request, will come through Alex, the request to take a look at what I've done and make sure I didn't screw it up.
After that, so once the route is approved through that GPS file, we'll definitely be providing a link to it from Ride Oregon. The changes that are happening to Ride Oregon right on the heels of phase 3 is that integration of GPS, so we'll be able to pull that file right in and have everything in one place. But just to be clear, we're still trying to direct consumers, the potential bike traveler, to one place.
Yes, and that's why in the brochure I said to link to the web, it goes right from Ride Oregon Ride /Old West or /Cover Bridges. That's the right website to send them to, because that's where all the businesses are listed. Travis?
Has there been much discussion about like video virtual rides where you literally strap on helmet cam and you run through and somebody can click on the website and zip through the whole thing in like 2 minutes?
Funny you should ask that. So much of what is on the state parks website is generated by volunteers. If you notice, there's a lot of photos. Gary's photos are up there. It's all volunteer. Grand Tour has a 9-minute video that I posted, that they made and sent me and I posted. And I don't have the ones from Central Oregon up yet because I'm still learning how to do that. And we have those, but they're not on the professional level that Ride Oregon Ride takes it to. But they do give you a feeling of what the ride does look like. But it's all at the point where it's on the state parks website, OregonScenicBikeways.org. It's a volunteer effort. But they do really give you a great feel for the ride. They really do. They work well on that. Stan?
I've noticed Ride with GPS has an app. Has anyone seen this? Mm-hmm. It's called Q-Sheet. Right. And so there might be an alternative. If you don't have GPS, you can put it on your smartphone. I haven't used it myself. I just wanted to mention it.
It works. We have it on the PRT now. And it does work. So all of our on our trailhead sisters on the Peterson Ridge Trail system, you just take your smartphone and you put it up there, and it will immediately put the PRT system on the smartphone.
Can you see
And
what
it works,
PRT is?
and it works off of the GPS. So as you're riding, you're literally riding on, shows where you are in the trail system.
And that's at Peterson Ridge.
That's just the PRT that we set that up on right now, yeah.
So a thing about that is cue sheets. I've asked all of you in the Bikeway Plans to write a cue sheet so you all know what a headache it is. And no matter how careful you are, there are errors in it no matter what. And there's also always errors somewhere along the line on the ride with GPS, or it does that thing where it makes it sound like you're making 5 different turns in a quarter mile, but you're really not. As we work through these, Doug, once again, is working with each one of the Bikeway proponent groups. We did that with Grand Tour. And the reason Grand Tour, once again, is being used for this as an example or a prototype is because Doug went out and rode it last fall. And he redid using the information from the Bikeway proponents and from Ride with GPS to make a new and improved cue sheet. And he's working through that for all the other ones. Did you want to add anything to that, Doug?
No, except, I guess, again, I can identify with about 95% accuracy what the road names are, just using the online tools. What I can't tell, though, is just exactly what the cyclist is going to see, what road sign they're going to see when they get to a particular intersection. And then the other thing that I think we really want to kind of push and build on is to identify things that the cyclist would want to stop and see, and services and things like that, which I really can't identify as I try to build the cue sheets. So as we get a draft cue sheet out to folks, what would really be helpful is for you to think about, are the road names accurate? And then secondly, what amenities are there along the route that cyclists ought to know about? Along the route, within about a mile of the route, a mile or two of the route, that people really might want to stop and see. Kind of historic places, scenic places, things like that. So to identify, what I really would like to do is identify those kinds of things on the cue sheets also. So somebody using the cue sheet will know that, just a half mile off the side, off the road, down this another particular side road, is a great view or a library or, any number of other kinds of things. So that's where we really need the feedback from the proponents, is once we get the draft cue sheets out, where you kind of fill in the blanks and add those kinds of things and identify where they are.
Thanks. So lots of good stuff coming for people to take advantage of, for the cyclists to take advantage of when they're out riding. Okay, now on to each one of the bikeways, and it's starting with each one of the designated bikeways, and I'm going to hand it over to Mike and Old West.
Because I'm first, I should model appropriate behavior. We have about 5 minutes planned for each, so please try to keep it within that, or we're going to be here all day. My PowerPoint is a little bit old-fashioned. This is my PowerPoint. I want to, though, start off by thanking the different people that have made this possible. Cycle Oregon started this because they knew it was a way to make money for our small rural communities. Travel Oregon with Harry and Kristen have taken that, and we are making money off of their efforts. Now, you know that Laura and Russ came over. By the way, they like food, they like beer. You treat them with kid gloves because they will make you money. We are making money off of their effort, as you can see. And then Roger and Tim, with Alex, of course, leading the way. State Parks has taken this on. So the first point I want to make, and it's the best thing I'm going to say all evening, or today, is cycling and scenic bikeways make money for our communities. Having the cyclists out there are a hassle, just like log trucks and everybody else. But what I want to do is every cyclist that comes to our community, I want to put a jersey on them with a big $sign on the back. We want cyclists. So number one, scenic bikeways make you money. Number two, because I'm on the committee, I got to go and ride all of your scenic bikeways. One of the issues that came up is you wanted maps and brochures. What I found, even in our small community, we have great resources. So we put together a brochure, all local resources. But another thing that we learned, and that's what I'm trying to do, is because I've been at this now for 4 years, try to share some of the things that we learned. If you can come up with routes besides your scenic bikeway and include that in the brochure, because if we can take Kristen's facts and keep that person there one day, fantastic. But if we can show them once they come over, and remember they're going 260 miles to John Day, they can spend additional days, then we make more money. So I was surprised at our local resources, even in John Day, to make individual brochures. We also looked for any existing publication that was out there. All of our communities do promotions on, a lot of it has to do with Travel Oregon. Well, anytime I can get the bikes on the front, it's just one more reason why people understand it's worth driving the 260 miles. Another thing is that somewhat we are in a little bit of a competition, but if we stress on the uniqueness, for instance, nobody has covered bridges like Cottage Grove. Nobody has Kam Wah Chung like we do, or the fossil beds. Each of our areas has a real uniqueness to it. But the other issue comes to something I learned when I got into this. As Kristen said, I went ahead just to try out the waters, and I started this two-wheel spoke in here. That was nice because it attracted cyclists to these businesses, but what it also allowed me to do is get entrance into those businesses and explain why they wanted to be a part of the program and sensitize them to cycling needs. Because what I found is when these people come over, it's just not one person. For instance, when this guy came over, nice guy, and I helped him because I am now the cycling ambassador for Grande County, and I treated him real nice. I didn't realize he was the head of communications for 1,000 Friends of Oregon. So he went back and wrote an article, yes, we have a nice scenic bikeway, but I love this phrase, but it's the people that make it awesome. So what I'm trying to do with this program is make sure that everybody that comes to Grande County has an awesome experience. Everybody, I know because I've ridden them all, we all have scenic bikeways, but we've got to get that people contact to make it an awesome experience. Another thing that I heard a lot of is events, and that's that same issue. We all wanted to have an event. Now I lucked out, we're getting Cycle Oregon, so I'm not going to do an event this year. But every one of those cyclists that comes in is going back to their groups. So very powerful contact, and it's relatively inexpensive on the events. Bike racks. We all wanted to have bike racks, so we came up with an idea, and this one's got a kind of some humor to it. We've decided to go to our local dump and go after the bikes and try to turn them into a bike rack. Now this was finished on Friday, and I thought I had a clear communication with the welder. This thing was way too short, so now the only thing I'm going to get to use it for is some kind of a PowerPoint for you guys. But we're looking at getting some bike racks using recycling, and then some things I've learned about it. We're going to, again, I have one of the smallest communities here. I'm going to take all these. At 1:30, Scott Bricker is going to show how we're now doing this as a state program through Travel Oregon. And these are going to become, after 1:30, pieces of history. So what we're going to do with a local lady is take acrylic pictures of the outstanding uniqueness of our bikeway, and we'll put it on here. It'll say, welcome to Grande County. It will also say, the healthiest county in the state. Excuse me, let me say that again. The healthiest county in the state. We just got that designation. That's something unique. I'm going to cash in on that whenever I can. And then we're going to have over here, the kids are going to do some kind of a sponsorship saying, sponsored by Lens Rexall, so that we can get these things funded. So there's our attempts at the bike racks. The business signs I've already mentioned. It's a great two-way communication with the community. Those are my 6 points. I put my business card on the table. If you want to further discuss this today, please get a hold of me. I'll also be at the conference tomorrow and the next day. Let's help each other. Thank you.
Thanks. A lot of work went into that. Later on today in the agenda, we have a walking part of the meeting, and there's many things, that's all to get outside, enjoy the sun, and talk with folks. So if you're interested in talking to Mike about it, or about what he's doing on Old West, or Laura and Russ about the videos, or Kristen about Travel Oregon, we'll talk more about that, but that will be our one of the opportunities to talk to the folks. So next up is Blue Mountain Century.
Mike's not the smallest community. Hepner is. Nice try, Mike. You know, that's our claim to fame. You know, all of 1,500 people. Our second year with the Blue Mountain Scenic Bikeway. I don't have any props like Mike. He's a hard act to follow. We're seeing an impact. It's just amazing. Just the second year. So we were one of the worked with Alex, and I'd like to echo Mike, working with Alex and Kristen and stuff. That was amazing. We were the first community that had the what'd you call it, Alex? The
workshop.
The workshop, and we're, if you're in a fairly small community where bike riders and Lycra kind of stand out, I wasn't sure who was going to show up. It was an amazing turnout and a lot of excitement from it. The businesses are seeing some impact. They got phenomenal buy-in. We have all of, what do you have, Cheryl? A dozen businesses in the Chamber of Commerce, but they've all got buy-in, and they're all communicating with us, asking the things they can do to improve their businesses, to make them more bike-friendly, and that's going real well. Last year, just an informal, I saw riders, all around our route, and the feedback from them was great. And I asked them questions, where'd you hear about this from? What are you doing this in 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? All of them tied into Cycle, Ride Oregon Ride, and all the stuff that Travel Oregon is doing, because a small town like us, we don't have the resources. So that's been great. Lots of publications, the East Oregon Visitors Guide. Cheryl put together some nice pamphlets. They're well distributed.
And he'll do autographs if you'd like that.
Rural Light Magazine, everything. Probably one of the most exciting things is we had the tourism deal, and one of our hunting ranches, during their off season, they had Scott and company out, and so the hunting ranch in their off season, now they're starting to market. He's had some tours. He put himself through bicycle mechanic school. He built a trailer to haul bikes. So he's marketing out of Trio Ranches, and it's just a great compliment to the area. It's not about the Scenic Bikeway, but it's parallel to the Scenic Bikeway, and it's going to be nothing but good for us. So.
Trio Bike Tours, you have a Facebook page.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Got our second big ride coming up, September 21st and 22nd. Looking forward to that. Going to be out in the Grande tour here in a couple weeks, so a little early in the cycling season from Eastern Oregon. But that's our story. Had some folks I know in June. They're wrapping together the Blue Mountain Scenic Bikeway and the Old West. We're going to hit parts of both of them in mid to late June. So looking forward to that ride also. So there's lots of opportunities. It's it's just a great group to work with. So thanks.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
One question about that ride that you mentioned, that looping the two. Are you going to post that on the events calendar on Ride Oregon, or how can people get information about those two rides?
It's Christy, I come with Mike, and make sure it's posted.
Okay, because that sounds, it was kind of like, who's up next? Oh, Grandeur. Can I do it from here? Please. Because I don't know how you get up here. It's a little bit of a maze.
Well, I'm Williamette, and I'm with the Grand Tour, and for successes, I would like to say that we have a beautiful brochure. When we submitted our application, the committee came up with a wonderful brochure, and Heather was very instrumental in that. And then recently, the Chamber redid it with some money from ODOT, and so it does have our map. It has actually a lot of really nice stuff, but they used a lot of what we had submitted, and then they polished it. It's wonderful. And then, yes, we are having a spring hike. So it's the first weekend in May. And this is probably the third time we are doing this, but I would invite you all to come. And yes, it is early in the cycling season, but what a way to get started. Dress for the weather, but it starts in the Grande. We have an overnight in Baker City, an almost overnight, and then we go back to the Grande. And you will see snow-capped gleaming peaks, snow and green, and it should be fun. So I have information about that. Other successes, well, I have a wonderful committee that I'm working with, but yes, Joe Chrissy put together a series of pictures, and that is on the email or on the website, and you can do it for YouTube. And we actually put the music, contacted a local musician, and his music is the background music for the little coffee shop there in the Grande. And then we had a meeting that was organized by Travel Oregon and Oregon State Parks, and we had a huge turnout, and I was just, made me feel good. There's a lot of enthusiasm locally, and it is just like perking and bubbling, and one of these days we're gonna pop the bubble. And then we have applied for some money so that we can further our future projects, which would be like a kiosk. We'd like to see a kiosk and a bike pick station at our major trailheads. And then we want to put this QR code on that so that you can use your smartphone with that. We're working with some people with ODOT. We're hoping to maybe incorporate a park and ride along our route so that maybe that would access some partnership and some funding. And then also in the works, EOU, our local university there in La Grande, is trying to put together an invitational so that other outdoor programs within the university system would converge and ride the Grand Tour in October. So that's being worked on. And let's see, of course we want to do this two-wheel spoken here. We really are looking forward to doing that so that we can identify the businesses that really want to be involved, and it is an excellent opportunity to work with them. You know, we need to talk with them anyway so that they understand what the whole thing is all about, what the Grand Tour is, and so that we're just looking forward to that. And I don't know. I would invite you to come to our ride. Please come. Please come. It's a wonderful ride, and it's a great way to get started with your cycling season. And Heather, would you like to add anything?
I think you covered a lot.
Yes.
Before we go on.
Did you bring more brochures?
I have 3 to share. But contact our local chamber so that you can get somebody that's there. They are wonderful, and I like the idea of adding additional rides, even if they aren't the Grand Tour rides, which we have done. That's been added to our local chamber. So I talked with the chamber. I need to talk with Baker City some more, but the chamber put in a slot for cycling, and then all our proposals and local stuff went in there for the local cycling information, and then we were fortunate enough to get this designation.
One question, because, well, the Grand Tour is one of the bikeways that has the opportunity and challenge of really having 2 communities that are pretty far apart working together. And there's La Grande and Baker City, and they're reaching out more and more to Baker City. Did you want to add anything to working with that, with the 2 communities?
Well, actually, that is kind of a challenge. We have 134 miles on our loop, and it does go through several different communities. The 2 largest are La Grande and Baker City. And so the most enthusiasm is in La Grande, but we have a lot of support in Baker City, and we're, you know, the distance kind of slows you down because you're not there, you know. But there is an active bicycle group there that we give them the information, and they're helping to fan our fires now. But and the city and everybody has been very supported, but I think by not being right in town, it's harder to maintain. But I found that the little communities, you know, like North Powder and Ames and Union and Cove are very enthusiastic. They see it as an opportunity, and they're very excited.
Thanks. And so for anyone who wants to brainstorm on how to link 2 communities that have a distance between them, maybe that could be a good walking meeting topic for you or during the lunch, because that is a challenge and an opportunity on several of the bikeways. Before I go on, are any of the bikeways going to be using a PowerPoint in their presentation? No? Okay, because I was going to turn back on the machine, but I won't. So Twin Bridges, Hank.
I'll make the trek.
Turn it around.
All right, so Twin Bridges, in 2008, Senator Wyden put together a committee on recreational assets in Deschutes County. And part of that was a system of bikeways, and in Central Oregon we've got 4 designated now, one of which is Twin Bridges, and then the ones you heard of in Sisters and Camp Sherman, and then the Madras that's pending. And the mission of the Friends of the Three Sisters Scenic Bikeways, the committee who's kind of charged with the overarching maintenance and the Bikeways program as a whole. So much like Mike, we're focusing on the fact that there are so many in the region and connectivity between communities. And so we have mapped out some auxiliary rides that are also scenic but tie, for instance, Twin Bridges to Sisters to Smith Rock. And we're trying to create a network throughout Central Oregon, and maybe one day up over the McKenzie Pass and into the valley, and then we're connecting regions, which would be fantastic. What we're doing so far is establishing a social media presence, an online presence, and really trying to sell our scenic road rides to a bigger audience. Set up a website and write a GPS page, and so our website links to the state website, it links to our Facebook page, it links to our Flickr album, so that folks can come and ride these routes, post their own photos and share their experience, and with people who are going to potentially ride. Also trying to get into the wearing a GoPro camera and give people a taste of doing like a preview ride, so speed it up to 200 miles an hour or whatever, and ride Twin Bridges like that. So you maybe slow it down at some of the scenic points or whatever, and give people an idea of kind of what they're coming in for. Next steps, we're going to try to come up with a booklet, because we've got the hopefully soon to be 5 routes, and then our auxiliary routes, coming up with a booklet of maps with QR codes involved, so kind of like an atlas of the Central Oregon road rides. Go ahead and hit the QR code, Q sheet comes up on your phone, little PDF link. Also, we could put the link onto the Ride with GPS page if you've got the Garmin system, and then there'll be the voice that actually tells you got a left turn coming up in 500 feet or whatever, and really dummy-proof these bikeways and get as many people out there and riding around Central Oregon as possible.
Thanks, Hank.
Yeah.
There's so much exciting stuff going on with each of the bikeways, but this is also the time to, because it's just us, it's just your colleagues, to talk about maybe some of the challenges. You don't have to go into detail, but say if you're having the same challenge as me, let's talk about it during lunch or during the walking meeting. And next up is McKenzie, Sisters of Smith Rock, and Metolius. And I wanted to say just really quick, is Erin in the room? So I tried to get Erin to change the name of Sisters to Smith Rock. I just had to say this. And she came up with the greatest name. If you know that Smith Rock, the major rock formation there, is called Monkey Face. And she came up with the name of Road to Monkey Face. But she wouldn't do it because it makes more sense to call it Sisters to Smith Rock. I just love that name.
Erin, you want to Do it as a joint presentation.
Yeah, we'll tag team.
We're kind of not quite as organized as some people. We don't have this down, so we're
No,
gonna wing it
are
here a
you
little
kidding
bit.
me?
but-
We are really organized. First of all, Sisters, if you don't know this, the League of American Cyclists say that Sisters is the smallest community to be recognized as a bike-friendly community. We are silver, bicycle-friendly,
Silver status.
and on all of our entrances into Sisters, you'll see the nice signs there. We are the smallest community to have that distinction. And we're also very proud of the fact that we got these scenic bikeways in place. You'll notice that we have two people from Deschutes County roads here. Peter and George, thank you very much for being here. And I do want to recognize Deschutes County, the road department in their efforts at making their roads bike friendly, sweeping, maintaining the roads, and the Sisters of Smith Rock, brand new shoulder work that they did all the way out, and it has been noticed and it's appreciated. There's been some challenges that maybe we could talk about just a little teeny bit, and some successes. Would you like to?
I do have a couple of other things too. So we're fortunate that we have 3 bikeways in our region. We're representing the Sisters Country, so not just Sisters, the city of Sisters of 2,000 people. We're not the smallest, sorry. We'll try to compete, but pretty close. So Sisters Country is about 12,000 people. So we also represent Camp Sherman, and then of course the McKenzie Pass route. So the McKenzie Pass route, we do have a ride coming up, the Ride for Two Rivers. It's the 4th annual ride before the route actually opens to vehicle traffic. So I do have flyers available. It's June 15th this year. It's a fundraising ride for the National Forest Foundation, so I'll make sure to pass those out for everybody.
And make sure, if you haven't done it yet, to come and ride the McKenzie Pass while the gates are closed to car traffic.
Absolutely.
Because it's fabulous, and hopefully their snowpack this year isn't going to impede, and we will be able to plow all the way up ODOT. Hopefully we'll be able to get us all the way up and maybe even over a little bit at the backside. So it's wonderful, and you guys really might want to do it during the time when it's closed to car traffic also.
And Windy blew the whistle a little bit. They started plowing last week, so if you really want to get out and
They're up
ride
there
this
right now.
weekend, it's
Yeah,
time
you
to do it.
checked.
I checked yesterday. They're working.
Time to go, that's right. Sisters of Smith Rock's another great ride. We do have a cycling guide that one of our local bike shops puts out. It'll be available, the brand new 2013-14 version is coming out here this month. It'll be available on our website. We have a special URL, cyclesisterscountry.com, that links back to our chamber site. You can find all that information and download the cycling guide. You can also request online a cycling guide, and we'll put one in the mail to you. And then, of course, the challenges that Gary mentioned a little bit are with our creative partnerships that we've had to deal with. Alex has been wonderful helping us. Because we have 3 routes, and we're also dealing with 4 counties, through 2 different sections of ODOT, 2 different, 3 different city councils, 4 different counties, a variety of different.
And Forest Service.
And Forest
Service.
Yeah, don't forget the Forest Service.
So we've had a variety of cross-jurisdictional issues, and most recently there's been some signage issues in the Metolius Basin, and trying to get the Scenic Bikeway signs up and posted on the Metolius Loops ride. So we've been very fortunate that Alex has helped and stepped up to be a participant in that conversation and helping to push those folks to understand the value of cycling. And thanks to Travel Oregon for providing those economic development statistics, because that'll really help this situation as well. So, other thoughts you guys wanted to add?
Well, Gary, do you want to just
Well,
a little
well,
bit about?
We had a really good meeting with ODOT on Highway 242. It's going to be signed with some very, very great signs that will tell motorists that there are bicyclists sharing that very narrow road when the gate is opened up. So that was a great meeting we had with them. The challenge is the Forest Service. So those of you that are planning future routes on the Forest Service, we now know that it's going to require a NEPA process to put the signs along the road. Thank goodness we don't have to do that with Deschutes County. So, anyway, that's a challenge. It looks like we might be maybe over a year out getting signs down there now because of that process. But we love our bikeways.
That's kind of the unfortunate part. We really wanted them signed by this
Yeah, it's not going to happen. It
current
won't
riding
happen. It won't happen this
season.
season.
But it looks like we will not be able to.
Right.
We have a hand.
Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned NEPA, is that an environmental assessment that they're requiring?
Yes, in other words, because, and it can be done as a categorical exclusion because it's under 500 acres, but every post has to have one of the ologists come out and say, oh yeah, there's not an endangered plant growing right where the post is going to go in.
How much are you having to pay to do that?
Okay, it's been thrown out at that, it could be up to $3,000 for this. So that's what they're saying, what they said, what, $1,000 to $3,000.
The NEPA would be $1,000 to $3,000. That's not including the sign.
That's just the assessment.
Yeah,
That's just the assessment process, right?
What about-
For there's down there on that, that's an interconnecting loop, and there's 19 signs plus a kiosk. So that's what we're.
It's the only family-friendly loop, and so we want to make sure that if you're out there with your kids and they are young and you get on a route, it's going to be the 5 or the whatever mile one, and you're not going to end up
No,
somehow
it's-
connecting
that's
because that's a day in hell, let's face it. You don't want your 5-year-old out there for, so we want to make sure it's really clearly signed. So we have more signs perhaps than you might.
Have you thought about maybe just for the interim doing some paint or thermoplastic on the pavement itself?
They won't let us. They're their roads. So I've asked that question, and so I'm going to try to set up a meeting with the business owners down in the Metolius Basin, and see if we can. The Forest Service said we could put signs up on the store because it already has a permit. Everything we have to do down there, it has to be permitted. And to get the permits, we have to go through this NEPA process, which is, so it's complicated, but we're going to get it done. There's no way we're going to lose out. We'll do it. It's going to take a lot more work though. So, and I guess if I understand, there's one other, isn't there one other bikeway in here that's going across Forest Service land that's running through the same process? One of the.
We have a BLM.
Oh, you're-
There's the BLM, which thanks to Liz is not, and Heidi's work of Liz in the back with the BLM is not an issue. They're working with us, and it's great. The Blue Mountain Century uses a Forest Service road, but because of the placement of the signs, there are no signs there.
Oh, so that's why they're not having to
Yeah.
deal with this.
And he's also on our committee for the Ranger County,
Yeah.
so that helps.
So
We
go
go through.
Well,
Right.
There's only one road.
yeah, that's the one. That's that one section that, yeah, coming from Ukiah out to Hebner, right there. Yeah, okay.
We have had some turnover in our Forest Service office as well. We did have great support when we initially put in the proposals, and unfortunately have had some turnover that's caused a little bit more of a challenge. So make sure if you do have new staff that are coming in, that you communicate with the new staff and that they know the value and they know the economic impact that these bikeways can have, because it's really important. So.
Thank you. And I just have to say, this whole thing with the signage has been.
Come and do our ride, June
Yeah, come down.
15th.
But with Gary's help, and it's so nice to be working with him, and there might be updates. I'm hoping for some more positive updates on this as we move along, because we'll see how that goes. But there's a couple things I wanted to touch on, squeeze this in. Gary mentioned this really great meeting with ODOT on 242, which is McKenzie Pass. There's been issues on that road that cyclists have been asking for just minor changes, like, can you mark the gate? So when you're screaming down the hill at 15, 20 miles, 30 miles an hour, you know there's a gate coming up, little things. And it really finally came together. And it was from the regular contact with ODOT being on the Bikeway, another person from ODOT being on the Bikeway committee, the organization in Sisters with Gary, with the Sisters Trails Alliance, with the city council, working with, so it's an ongoing effort that had went from this, well, they'll never do anything to help us on McKenzie Pass, to there's going to be some major improvements up there for cyclists soon. And with that, I just want to say, and Aaron really touched on it too, with if you think of everyone who's written the letters of support that are in your Bikeway plans, those are folks that need to be kept in the loop on a regular basis. To just keep updating them on the great progress or whatever they want to know about. And that should avoid problems in the future and also build alliances that can really help us as we're moving. Okay, now, next one up, covered bridges. Thanks, Travis.
So I'll kind of go through, and Dawn, I know you didn't know if I was coming or not at the last minute, but if you want to add anything in, please interject, and Liz as well. So again, I'm Travis, I'm with the Covered Bridges Scenic Bikeway,
And I'll start with the challenges because I like to end on a good note. Some of the things more recently, a challenge that we've got a hydroelectric project that is going on right now, and where it was determined that they needed to run their hydroelectric line happened to be right down the center of our Scenic Bikeway path, including, digging up the pavement and all that. Thankfully, though, we've got a great city manager who, in the contract process, said you have to be finished with this project by May 1st, and if you don't, it's a $1,000 a day fine for every day that you go over. And so we're pretty sure that they're going to stick with that. But we planned it around the season, and we've got some nice partnerships with the city and other organizations as well. One of the biggest challenges that, from my perspective, that we've been facing is getting more local buy-in. We absolutely love having the Covered Bridges Bikeway, but at some meetings, especially when it revolves around business owners and construction projects and how it's going to impact, I still go to meetings and I hear somebody saying, well, why are we putting a bike lane in? Isn't that a waste of space? You're taking away parking spots. And I just want to, it's like the V8 commercial when you smack them on the forehead. That's why I'm always looking for more numbers, more economic impact data, because that is my number one tool to convince these business owners and locals that may not be into cycling why it's a really good thing to see people on the side of the road with a bicycle running, riding through. That's money. I mean, they hear and speak money, and that's why I need the money numbers so that I can translate those and send them over to these folks and get them excited about it. We have one of the two the bikeways that are considered family friendly, which is fantastic. Ours is a fairly short path and most of it is unpaved, but there are some precarious crossings, and we've been working with Don, who heads up the Bicycling Safety Coalition, and to clear up some of the issues around these crossings. I mean, because it's a major highway and people get spoiled by the fact that there's no traffic, and then all of a sudden they're crossing. And there have been, over the last several years, there's been 2 fatalities at one particular intersection. So we've been working very hard to try to secure funds and come up with plans on how to make that crossing much more family friendly and secure and clear up all the other issues with it. We have made a lot of progress, again, very much thanks to Don's efforts. He's been ringing phones and nagging people, and it's been working. So I really appreciate what you've been doing. We do have some jurisdictional issues. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily bad. Our bikeway, there's city jurisdiction, there's BLM, there's Army Corps, and there's county. And thankfully, it really hasn't been as bad as that sounds like that mix would be. We've got Liz from the BLM, who's been a really good ally. Like I said, we've got a great city manager. Most of our contacts have been pretty good, but they are, it does add a whole lot of complexity when you're somebody wants to bring a cycling event to our community. We say, okay, you got to talk to this person from this place, this person here, and thankfully it has not deterred people very much. It's been really nice. The last challenge I'll talk about is really just getting people, from the chamber's perspective, I have to always be thinking about what's the economic impact. And so we want people to ride the trail, but we want them to come into town and spend their money at the same time. And because that's the transition. You could have 1 million people on the trail, but if they don't stop and buy gas and food and stay overnight, then we've got this amazing trail, but it doesn't impact the businesses the way we want it to. So, highlighting the fact that right in town we have the last covered railroad bridge this side of the Mississippi. We have not capitalized on that, and we're not dragging the people into town from the trailhead like we're hoping to, and so we're making efforts to try to correct those things. Successes, much longer list. Number one, first and foremost, the publicity has been amazing. And I really have to thank Travel Lane County. They have been our best ally when it comes to securing publicity. In fact, I was just handed this when I came in. I was hoping to see the issue soon. We're on the cover of the Eugene Cascades and Coast magazine. Travel Lane County has been phenomenal in helping promote us. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, we have been featured on Grant's Getaways, and I've heard that he's coming back to do another trip to Cottage Grove on Grant's Getaways. He's out of Portland. Is anybody familiar with? Okay. That's a Travel Oregon thing has been great. At the Governor's Conference on Tourism, I just found out that Via Magazine, the AAA magazine, they're doing a feature on our covered bridges and our bikeway. That'll be out around September. Northwest Travel Magazine just did an article on us. Sunset Magazine did one on us last summer. When that article came out, I had no idea the readership of Sunset Magazine. I think it was either the August or July issue, but when it gets mailed out, it actually shows up in your mailbox a few days before the month starts. We knew the day that it hit people's mailboxes because the way it came out, the very next weekend, we had people showing up at our visitor center saying that they are there because they read the article in Sunset Magazine. So any chance you get, if somebody calls you and you have the ability to break away, I don't care what you're doing, embrace these people when they come out and they want to do stories because it's been a huge impact. Another one that just came out within the last 2 weeks, the Dallas Times ran an article on the Covered Bridges Bikeway. There was a guy that's from, I think, the Sun Tribune, and he writes articles and then they get passed out to multiple syndicated papers, for whatever the terminology is. And one of his copies just came out in the Dallas Times, and we got a phone call that day from somebody that had a connection to Cottage Grove. And so the impact is huge. A couple more things, and then I'll wrap up. The spin-off successes, things like people bringing their events because of this bikeway is really nice. We have 3 great cycling events. The Oregon Grand Fondo, which just started last year, had over 300 riders, and there's a short, a medium, and then a 100-plus mile course that incorporates a lot of the Scenic Bikeway. That was huge. It's coming back again this year, and they've decided they want to bring all of their start and finish line stuff to downtown Cottage Grove. So major economic impact because of that. The Try at the Grove is another one. This is, I think, their 3rd year, and they were just recognized in Triathlete Magazine as being one of the top triathlons in the country. And a lot of it's because of the experience that they've had. And it's the only one that made their list that's in the entire Pacific Northwest. And it's because of that total experience that people will have when they come and they do that triathlon. Cycle the Lakes is another one. But again, just examples of things that are bringing their events to these bikeways because of the experience that people have. And then the last success that I'll talk about is the expanded services that we're seeing in businesses. One of our fantastic hotels that drives a lot of people in and out, the Village Green, they have actually started a program where they will now rent bicycles to the people that stay at the hotel. They'll let you check out a bicycle for a price and you can go rent and ride. And then our one bike shop in town, he actually just went through an expansion. He's moving his store to a bigger space on Main Street, and he now has bicycle rental services where he didn't do that before. So we're already seeing, and we haven't even really embraced much of this and capitalized on anything that we could be doing a lot more of, and we're already seeing these kind of impacts. So we're very excited, we're very happy about it. Am I leaving anything out?
Yeah, we could talk forever, so.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Just one thing, Cottage Grove is the covered bridge capital of Oregon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Travis and John and Lexi for their work on that one. Quick thing, I thought for a while that it was actually the covered bridges, which was the most complicated to sign. Thanks to Don, that is signed, and now the award for the most complicated to sign goes to Metolius Loops. But
Yay!
On that note, too, there's a couple things that have come up that have been mentioned that are really timely that cyclists really want to know about. When you can ride McKenzie Pass, that you can be riding it right now. And that's the kind of thing to think about, to post to Ride Oregon Ride. It's really easy to post it, send the information to me, I can start tweeting about it. And the articles that Travis mentioned, that's another thing. Post the link on Ride Oregon Ride. It's really easy because those are the kinds of things that will give people a better feel for the ride as they're looking for the information. And so I can't stress that enough about the timely information to get that out there right now. Next up is the first bikeway ever designated. It was designated without a proponent group, and it has been adopted. And I would like to, are you going, Larry, are you going to talk? So,
All of us are.
okay, go on up. Williamette Valley Scenic Bikeway, first one.
Well, my name is Larry Miles. I also happen to double as president of Salem Bicycle Club. And this is Joanne Dewey, who is past president of Salem Bicycle Club.
Richard Hughes, past president of Gears in Eugene Bicycle Club.
You know, I've got to tell you, I'm in awe of the work that you've done, because we are just in our infancy in trying to get more publicity for Willamette Valley. And towards that end, Richard and I have been working on getting a club ride between Gears and Salem Bicycle Club set up for June 22nd. And we've got the clubs behind this, and we're going to meet in Albany. We've got some really good press going with the Statesman Journal. They're going to do a nice article on it. And I believe that Eugene Register...
Guard, well, I'm working on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
And we'll get some press. And we're going to stay overnight, at least the group from, it's north or south meets north, or however you do it. We're going to stay at the fairgrounds in Albany overnight, at least some of the Eugene people. But they have the option to take the train back, have a spouse pick them up, or ride back. But we're trying to make it easy, so it'll be a one night overnight, so people who haven't done touring can do that. And if others want to continue on up to Shampooey Park, the entire length of the bikeway, then they're welcome to do that.
And some of the Salem guys, I think, will start at Shampooey and go all the way to Eugene. And of course, they're going to be on the hook to get the shuttling back and forth or whatever. But Joanne was mentioning something to me today, is that we have such a unique bikeway, is that, you know, our route goes through 2 of 3 Oregon major cities. We've got Salem, Eugene, we've got Albany, and trying to get their attention has been difficult. Right now, it's just a sign on the road, I got to go to work, watch for cyclists. We haven't really been successful in putting the Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway on the map, so to speak. So that is our job in the years to come. So, did you have something to say too?
On the topic of how do we make each of the bikeways unique, one of the things I think that makes our bikeway unique is in the valley here in the Salem area, we have a really strong bike club, which Larry mentioned. And we are in the process of modernizing our mapping system. And so if cyclists come to the area to do the bikeway and are maybe going to think about staying a couple of days, I see an opportunity to get the link to our bike club. And we are electronically mapping maps as we speak. And most of the routes are doable in a part of a day. Our club is out there 3 or 4 or 5 times a week as a club, which the tourists could and would be welcome to join us if they wanted to do that or do it on their own. But a great ride is just finishing right now is from Salem out to the Tulip Fields, or Salem up to Mount Angel and the Abbey. Things that people don't see, you know, maybe from another area of the country. But
One thing that I've done and shared with Larry, very easy to make up business cards, and I put the Scenic Ways logo on it, and you put your with the Ride Oregon Ride website and your contact information. So when you go out to a business, I mean, you can make it up. It's very simple to make up on your, you know, your computer at home. You can give them a contact, you know. So it's just another thought, something to do that you can do yourself.
It's amazing.
So our first big step is we're going to get the ride out of the way, and we're going to notify all the businesses en route. There's a lot of them that we've got to contact and do a better effort in putting the Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway in a little bit more pronounced position in our communities. That's what our mission is. Any questions?
Well, actually, there's a comment from Nathan Jones, who was following us from Facebook. And and I just want to mention, Nathan Jones in February did a 300-mile in one-day ride, utilizing the Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway for the most part. And he said, tell him that WVSB is the bomb.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. There's some inspiration there.
Great. Jean?
I live there. It's a very bicycle-friendly bed and breakfast.
Oh, I meant to. Jean Brower is a member of our bike club and active cyclist, and she has a bed and breakfast here in Salem. Absolutely lovely. Century House is the name, and very bike friendly, I would say. Check it out.
I can vouch for that. I'm staying there.
So your ideas are extremely valuable to all of us, that's
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah, very humbling.
Well, I'd like to say that I believe Salem Bicycle Club does a very good job with bicycling events, starting with the Watermelon Century used to have, Peach of the Century. This weekend you have the Monster Cookie Ride coming up. So I don't see why you wouldn't be successful with the Scenic Bikeway, as successful as you have been with your other rides.
Well, thank you. Thanks to Doug Perro, who is a member and coordinator for all of those rides, and I'm doing a Monster Cookie for this year and the last couple of years. I appreciate those comments. So yeah, we're gonna go after it. So.
Just one comment too about the Salem Bicycle Club. When I looked at PDFs of route maps, check their site out for their route maps. They're excellent.
It is awesome. Again, thanks to Doug Perro for putting that program together for us. So.
Also with Gears, we have a website where we have over 200 rides with the maps and cue sheets, and we've recently resized the website, so any mobile device, it'll be automatically resized, and then you can go on there. If you've got a smartphone, you can actually get the cue sheets and the maps right there as you're riding.
So our goal also is to incorporate the Willamette Valley Scenic Bikeway into the Salem Bicycle Club mapping system in some fashion or another. So that is a project for us in the future.